Moreno, KOR The Sports. We're here with the legendary Jim Lampley. Good to see you, sir. Man, you just signed the wall. Muhammad Ali's on there. Harold Letterman's on there. And now the only one left, Jim Lampley. What's that like?
What a thrill. And great to be associated one more time with Harold and with Muhammad, who was my ultimate boyhood hero in life.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Man, we're here at Gleason's, obviously, for Haney versus Garcia. You know, a great matchup. Two young, guys. I guess you could probably say in their prime. What do you make of Ryan's, Twitter and Instagram, kind of all the stuff, the antics leading up to the fight? What do you make of it?
Well, it's a mystery to me, okay? And it's a mystery to me because I am so old-fashioned in so many ways, very much like the sport that I loved covering so much, that I have never had a social media presence. I don't read social media. I regard it as a kind of unwarranted distraction for our society, inevitable because of technological change. But, the notion that anyone and everyone should be a part of public discourse and dialogue, I don't subscribe to that. And I don't see how he feels he is helping himself or his life by creating disruptions on social media that prompt people to have questions about him. And when people are walking around talking about a question regarding your mental health, and you yourself enter into the discussion of whether your mental health is somehow at stake, I think that's kind of questionable. I don't see how that helps anybody. But on the other hand, maybe in the present environment and the world in which we live, that sells. And obviously, all fighters are entrepreneurs. All fighters are self-promoters by nature. If they hide from that, then they aren't going to achieve the greatest success that they can possibly achieve. So I can't criticize him if he feels like it's the best thing for him to do what he does on social media because it's going to get him the most attention. That's a big goal for any prize fighter.
Man, just where they're fighting at 140, a lot of good champions at 140 now. Teofimo, Subriel, also Isaac Cruz now. Devin, obviously. Can you rank those four for me?
It's a high concentration of talent. And I wouldn't pick any one right now to rank ahead of all the others, although I've said this week, and I said it to Devin himself. Devin has a platform to use to build toward trying to be seen as the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. That platform, as far as I'm concerned, begins with one fact. He has a win, an official win, over Vasily Lomachenko. And in the last several years that I was calling boxing on HBO, before we went away at the end of 2018, I thought of Lomachenko as number one technician in the sport, the person with the most profound approach to understanding technique and how to make himself better than other fighters was Vasily Lomachenko. So now Haney goes into a ring in Las Vegas and convinces the judges, I won't argue, that he's the better man in that fight, and therefore he's got a win on his record against Lomachenko. I asked Haney in an interview the other day, I said, is it your goal to be seen as number one pound for pound? And he said, oh yes, definitely. That's the long-term goal that we're approaching here, is for me to be seen as the number one fighter in the sport. Well, he's got a leg up on it. And I don't know that anybody else has anything exactly like it in terms of an argument.
Yeah, no, it's true. I feel like if the dust had to settle now.
I mean, when Teofimo got the win that he got, he looked like he was headed that way. And then things turned left on him a little bit. So there's still a lot of talent there, and we could see Teofimo back in the mix. Might like to see Teofimo versus Haney somewhere down the road. Assuming that Haney can get past Ryan Garcia, which is not an open and shut case.
Right, and Teo does have that win over Taylor as well, right? So
yeah,
I mean, he has that argument
that's right.
as well. Just want to skip to Canelo versus Munguia. Obviously, it's a good fight, but it's not, maybe the one that all boxing fans wanted, right? We wanted David Benavidez. We wanted to see, what David could do. Canelo's legacy is intact, but is there, maybe a little asterisk argument if he doesn't face David ever?
Well, I think it's become abundantly clear that Canelo can in some ways be a little touchy. He doesn't want the public or the media to push him in a direction in which he does not want to go. And I think that, a lot of his persona is, I'm my own man. I will do what I want to do. If media and the public and people like Jim Lampley are saying that I need to fight David Benavidez, that's not going to make me fight David Benavidez. I'll choose what I want to do. So he takes Munguia. And most critics seem to believe that Munguia is not the same kind of challenge for Canelo that Benavidez would be. Canelo knows that. He knows that he has time if he wants to look down the road and fight Benavidez at some other moment. He knows that a win over Munguia is a good credential both in Mexico at large, in Tijuana, in Southern California. Munguia got the privilege of being on HBO several times before HBO went away, so he was able to create a positive image there. Jim Lampley liked him and said good things about him on the air.
That's high praise right there.
Didn't hurt. Yeah. So at the end of the day, there is a game for Canelo in disposing of Munguia, as most people seem to think that he will, and going forward at his own pace toward a decision as to whether he wants to fight David Benavidez.
Last one I want to get to. Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul. It's very interesting just because Mike Tyson is going to be 58 years old. Jake Paul is pretty much still a novice in boxing. What's your take on it? What's Jim Lampley's take on that?
Well, it's not a legitimate boxing match in my view. And it's not a legitimate boxing match for all the reasons that you just mentioned. I don't have to recite them. I'm like most people in our business in that I love Mike. He's a very dear old friend. I began calling boxing matches on television when I was assigned at ABC to cover Mike's first on-air exposure against Jesse Ferguson. An executive at ABC wanted to get rid of me and thought that I would be embarrassed by calling boxing matches. He figured I wouldn't know anything about it. He didn't know that the first sports event I had ever watched was Sugar Ray Robinson versus Bobo Olson for the middleweight championship in 1955 when I was 6 years old. So somebody who misidentified me as a non-boxing person put me at ringside for Mike Tyson versus Jesse Ferguson, and not only did my career as a boxing commentator take place, but my friendship with Mike took place. And all friendships have left turns. We had a little wiggle here and there, but by and large, I love him. I have tried to be loyal to him as a friend, and I know that he's been loyal to me as a friend. So my biggest hope is that Mike Tyson walks out of that ring healthy and in good shape to go forward in his future. I know what it's like to get older. Mike's getting older. It doesn't seem logical to me that a relative novice like Jake Paul could hurt Mike in that situation, but I just want to be sure that doesn't happen somehow or another.
Do you think it will? Do you think
No, I think Mike knocks out Jake Paul. I think I'm an optimist about it. I think Mike knocks out Jake Paul in a couple minutes and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that'd be like ideal for boxing fans who have been hating on Jake Paul, right?
Validate boxing. I want something that legitimizes and validates boxing, and doesn't make it appear that somebody can walk into the sport without the right background, use a huge social media following to vault to a place where they can do something that would be meaningful. Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson somehow or another, he gets a lot of attention. I'm rooting for Mike.
There it is. Jim, you're a legend, man. I know fans could see you, do the live chat on ppv.com, even this Saturday, right, for Haney versus Garcia.
Anytime you buy a pay-per-view, look at the website to see if you have the option of getting ppv.com. And if you have the option of getting ppv.com, you get to be in a live chat with my comments, with usually the comments of a star boxing writer also, and all the fans can join in.
That's awesome. Jim, appreciate your time. I would ask you what your social media is, but you just told me you don't have it. So thank you, sir.
Great to be